Okay guys, what's up? So we're back with some more Snow Queen quest. We're back to finally, hopefully put an end to this playthrough. Because we're about to fight the final boss. I actually really like the aesthetic of this, but yeah, this boss sucks. So pretty much we're just gonna get in here. She says she's been waiting for us. We have the thoughts and views of the quick little say words from the heads, and we're straight on into this fight. So the important thing about this fight is that there's 3 heads, and each head has different weaknesses and strengths. So that between all 3 of them, they are weak to everything, strong to everything, and they can use all types of elemental magic, buffs and debuffs, and status ailments. So what will happen is the head will turn towards you. This is very similar to Pandora in the Seebeck quest, where her hair color changes. But the difference here is that there's 3 of them instead of the 2. I think that this fight is much harder. So normally you would have to probably do this fight a few too many times and try to figure out which head is weak to which. But we have the internet. So we've already pulled them up on the wiki. This is the actual Mega 10 wiki. And so we'll just go from the middle. The middle head, which is only active when it's illuminated, and both heads are facing the other way, is capable of doing the different attack magics, elemental damage, and she is weak to physical damage. So when the central head is active is when you want to be using pretty much your regular attacks. You can use guns even. And she is resistant to everything else. And then the green head, which is the one that's illuminated right now, it's the one on the right hand side, is the one that will cast debuffs, or cast status ailments, I'm sorry. And they'll also buff the boss's magic with Makaja. This one is weak to only miracle damage. So this is that's the most neutral of the heads, since it doesn't have any great strengths or weaknesses. But it does nullify pretty much dark magic and ailments of sorts. And then the left head, which is the yellow one, is the one that will do buffs and heal. It's capable of raising defense with Rakuja and can heal with the Arama. Also has a way of guilting your entire party and nullifying all damage for 1 turn. This one is weak to elemental damage. Pretty much all sorts of magic damage, as well as guns, are the weakness here, but it is very resistant to physical damage, tech, rush, and it will nullify, expel, miracle, and death. So the holy, dark, and the other one, and miracle damage. So what your goal here is to be using something like Megidola. It's what I learned from watching the speedrun, is that you can just use Megidola or high level Megiddo spells pretty much all the time. Whenever it's on the right or the left head, it'll deal a bunch of damage. And then just try not to die. So the issue that we're going to run into The issue that we're going to run into here is that I've stuck myself very heavily into using Iluyonka as a persona, which gives me access to Megidola, which you would think sounds very good, but Iluyonka is weak to all types of elemental damage, and that's why whenever the middle head does anything, whoever has Iluyonka just dies immediately. And I tried to have Odin use his spear attack as well on the main character to just like pump some physical damage in. I think this boss is pretty hard. It has 15,000 HP shared between the three heads, and the way that it changes heads can be it's pretty random. I think if there's a way to tell, I wasn't able to figure it out. And so before coming this high up into the ice tower, I would recommend stocking up on more items and perhaps being a little bit more versatile with your persona selection. And the other thing is you should know what items do, because what's going to happen eventually is just a big lack of knowledge on my part that's going to make me feel pretty dumb. So this fight was going pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and spoil it that this particular encounter does not end in a win. And this will actually begin sort of a last minute grind where I'm just going to run up and down back to the 9th floor to heal and save, and then back up to the 11th floor, and then back down to the 9th floor. There was a lot of failed boss attempts going into this, which is why when I started recording this later footage, I was making a lot of references to my time with Final Fantasy II, where I was also get to the last boss, fail a bunch of attempts, and then run back and forth a lot. I think there's a great parallel there. But I think this encounter is pretty hard. It definitely is a large check on your preparation. And for sure I was not prepared a lot. It almost looks like I'm doing a lot of damage too, which is just not true. Because then it's going to switch heads, and it doesn't matter. One thing I did have going for me was that Ellie is pretty immune to a lot of things, but ultimately it doesn't matter. She's the last one standing. She's just gonna die. So what we have for the rest of today's footage is just gonna be, I'm gonna be finishing up today. First of all, it's the 9th. It's 1:05 p.m. It's go time. But we're gonna be, going through the grind. I'm gonna be muting my microphone a lot and just playing music while I do some of that, and then I'll be jumping in occasionally to talk about some stuff. And to make sure that we're thoroughly nourished, we have corn dogs, orange juice, water, and coffee for today's meal. So hopefully this is a worthwhile little endeavor. I see Ellie just blocks everything. And then she gets hit physically and she just dies. So there's my mouse. You can see as my mouse moves around, I was trying to figure out what this boss is weak to. Trying to figure out some strategies, and ultimately it was not as fruitful as I had perhaps hoped. And I was a little frustrated. I did have a save state. The save state was pretty important up here because it means that I didn't have to run through the entire thing again. It's going to be another failed attempt. And this is going to be the beginning of me just piecing out. You can watch these failed attempts, maybe get a nice little idea for how this boss fight goes. Because ultimately what needed to happen is not using Iluyonka and using another persona that has access to Megidola. So I'm gonna mute it for a little while, and I'm gonna eat my corn dogs. I'm gonna turn the music up. Right now we're listening to the battle tracks in the main SMT games. You can tell this one is already off to a terrible start. And then after about 10 more minutes or so, we'll take a short little, there will be a short little break in the footage while we bring up the next one. And that should be the beginning of the climb. Let me verify which, make sure I know where I'm at on this. Yep, so I know where I am. So when I pull up the next one, there's not going to be any weird, like, there will be a black screen for a little bit, but it won't be too terribly long. And I think this, yeah. So we'll be out for a little bit. I'll still be watching the footage. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to jump in when there's a couple things that need to get said, some fusion here and there, and some very difficult encounters. And so, yeah. I'll be back. Okay, so now we're into this next set of footage. Obviously, it got started like pretty quickly. Wasn't even quite done with the last one. All that happened was I went in. I think I got like hit one time, and I was like, all right, I'm fucking done. So we're gonna just get straight into this, which is it's just pretty much just like a lengthy grind where I'm just running. I'm trying to run down to the ninth floor. I want to heal. I felt like I needed levels, but as I said before, I think this is a matter of preparation, personas, items, and equipment. And there's not a lot I can do about most of that stuff, but I can just gain levels and fuse more personas. So that is ultimately what's going to end up happening. We've got about 3 hours left of footage, so we're gonna get this shit done. All right. This grind won't be anything any different than how the other ones may have worked, but we'll be going at 2 times speed. Excuse me. And of course, we'll actually be here for this one. So usually, for my grind videos, I just post these very, very long video dumps. There will be occasional deaths, I would say, but there was a lot more deaths when I was recording than actually made it into the footage. Because I would die, get frustrated, and then stop. So, yeah, on with the show. This pack in particular, with the 2 girls on the moons and the hippogriff man, I found this pack to be very difficult at first, and I'll run into them quite a bit. But ultimately, I think the best way to go about it is just to kind of like physical attack the shit out of them and shoot guns at them. Which, if I remember right, is how I deal with them. So we're going to stop this episode right here. So we're coming up on our 30-minute time mark. And we're just going to get straight into the next one. We'll be starting the next one already muted because we'll still just be running up and down. But as you can tell, I'm definitely getting lost in these dark rooms a little bit. So we'll see you guys next time.